Om Shri Sainathaya Namaha. Welcome all to our channel at the Red Gaming Cyclone YouTube channel. Recently we have started series of technical sessions and till now we have seen the Python setup, PyCharm IDE setup, MySQL server setup, MySQL workbench setup, some basic commands of Python, and in last session we have seen how we can connect to the MySQL database by using the Python. And today we are going to modify the program in different aspect, like we are going to separate out the things connection to the MySQL from the different actions we are performing on the database. So we are going to separate the two things from each other. This will help us to maintain the code or reusability function point of view. It will be easy to maintain and easy to understand. Then we are going to see how we can store values in config.py file and how we can apply try and catch, that is the try and accept functionality in Python to handle the exceptions, to handle the error. So these are the points we are going to cover today. So in last session, if you remember, we have written the program that to connect the MySQL database by using host, username, password, and database. After that, we have seen whether the connection is successfully made or not. Then we have created the cursor on the connection to execute the SQL query. The simple SQL query we have used. We are fetching two columns values, username, password from the demo project and from the demo user table. Then we are printing that SQL query. We are using the cursor to execute this query and save the result into the cursor. Then we are saving the result returned by the SQL query into the result all multiple records by using fetch all method of the cursor. We also seen the fetch one record of the cursor method. So to fetch only one record, we are using fetch one, and to fetch all the records, we are considering the fetch all method. We have seen that, and then we are printing all the username and values from all the records. For example, we have two records in the MySQL database, and we are printing username of the row one, user password of the row one, then username of the row 2, password of the row 2, and so on. This one. So let's start our MySQL server. Yeah. So let's meanwhile we can start with the our agenda's first point, connection to MySQL. We are going to separate it out for our usability perspective or for applying some OPS concept or for maintenance purpose. So here we have used this connection, right? So we are going to create new file, .py file, and we will name it as a MySQL underscore connection.py, or create MySQL connection.py. Okay, and paste over here. Control home. See, the MySQL error is given because we are not imported the MySQL connector. Import over here. Okay. Now we need to return this connection. We need to return this connection to the calling program. Return connection. So let's define the function with the name create MySQL connection, and in that we are creating the connection and then we are returning the connection. Okay, so we have created new file, create underscore MySQL connection.py file. In that file we have written one function, create MySQL connection. In that we have used the same logic to connect the MySQL database, and we are returning this connection to the calling function, calling program. Now in the MySQL connector demo, here we can comment out this code because we have taken care in another program. Now let's create one db connection is equal to and call this function over there, so that when we call this function from here, so it will call this function, it will connect and it will return the connection, and we are storing that connection into the db connection. But it is showing the error unresolved reference, so we need to import that thing, import the function. So from this file name, create MySQL connection dot file dot py, copy that name and then import the function name which we are going to use, right? So from this file name we are imported the function, and that function name we are calling from over here, this line, and we are storing the connection over here. Now wherever we use the connection, we can change it, the name db connection here. So what we have done, we have separate out the two things. We have separate out the actual db connection in the new file by using one function, and we are returning that connection to whoever the program is calling. Right now we are calling from this program. We may require in future use the same line of code connection in another program. So instead of writing same line of code in everywhere, we are writing once the same line of code once, and we are reusing this code at multiple in the multiple programs, reusability point of view. So now let's see whether still by using these changes, by implementing these changes, whether our program is still executing successfully or throwing some error or not. Let's execute MySQL connector demo.py. Let's see. So successfully connected to MySQL. Where it is printed? Here it is printed. Okay, so before this line we are calling this function from this .py file, and then we are checking this db connection is connected or not. It is connected, so we are printed successfully connected to the MySQL. Then we are printing the cursor, then we are printing the select query, the cursor over here, nothing executed yet, then select query, and after execution we are printing again cursor. So before execution and after execution, before execution nothing executed yet, after execution the cursor having the select query, executed query. Then we are printed the result all. We have stored the cursor data or the SQL query, select queries data written by the SQL query into the cursor, and we are storing into the result all and printing over here result all. So this is the all the records we are fetching, and then by using this for loop we are printing each username and password. So let's see the table which we have used in the select query, the database and the table name, and what are the data available in them. So we are using this one. So we have two records. First record having username 1, password 1, second record having username 2, password 2, which we have printed over here. Okay, so the separate out the action, what we have done action, we are selecting or fetching the record. This is our action item. In case we need to update or we need to insert record or we need to delete, all those action we can cover in this file, MySQL connector demo file, and we have separated out the actual connection, code of the actual connection, so that we can reuse this code or we can call this function anywhere in any of the Python program from multiple places. So we have completed this first two part. Now how we can store values in config.py file. So we are using these values. Host is a local host, username, password, database, and we are hard coded these values over here. But we don't want to hard code this value. It is not as per the standard guidelines. So we are going to define these values in config.py file. So let's create config.py file. The purpose of config.py file, we can store all the values, all the variable values which we, all the constants or variable which we are using in the program at multiple places in many programs. We can store at the centralized location so that we can modify the value. Suppose in future the password gets changed, so instead of modifying at multiple places we can modify at the one places, and it may be this these values are maybe used in different programs, different functions, but once we have modified at one places it is automatically get reflected at the all places. So let's give the name MySQL underscore host, then MySQL underscore username. I am providing the capital letters, then MySQL underscore password and the database name MySQL underscore database. Okay, so we have stored the hard-coded values which we have used in a program, Python program, which we have stored at a centralized location in the config.py file. And now we are going to use these values in this program. So how we can use it? So we need to import these values first from config import. What are the values we are going to import? We are importing MySQL host, comma MySQL username, MySQL password, MySQL database. Right now we are importing all the values because we require all the values. It may be possible that there are hundred of variables we have stored here. Out of that only 4 variables required in this program, maybe another 4 variables required in another program. So whatever values we required, we are going to import over here. Now assign these values to the actual values. Host is equal to MySQL host. Username is equal to MySQL. MySQL password is equal to. So instead of hard coding values in the actual program, we are passing the values which are stored in a config.py file. Let's save it and let's see the same program if we execute. So there should not be any error. Python MySQL connector demo. So we are executing this file, this program. In this program we are calling this function. This function, if we want to navigate, you can mouse over, you can press Ctrl key and mouse over on the function name. It will show the underline. See the underline, and then you can click it will navigate to the actual function available in the respective file. If this file is closed, the PyCharm IDE take care of that. It will open that file and shows the function name, the definition of the function. Now we are calling this function. We navigate over here and we are using these values which are stored in a config.py file. So execute this program and let's see, there should not be any error. So there is an error. What is the error? Let's see. DB connection, create MySQL connection. Why? Is we have changed anything? No. Let's see what is there. Create MySQL connection. Then arguments, username dot strip. Tuple object has no attribute strip. Connection is equal to MySQL Connector.connect. Connection is equal to MySQL.Connector.connect. Tuple object has no attribute. Self user. Let's explore this error and try to find out the root cause why it is throwing the error. So we are storing host is equal to MySQL host, username is equal to MySQL username, password is equal to MySQL password, database is equal to MySQL database. These are imported from this config file, config.py file. Let's print one value over here, see whether it is accessible or not. It will help to debug us. And let's execute this program once again. So it is printing MySQL localhost, comma. Oh, got it. Here we have copied as it is these values, and we are only changes these values. So I think we need to remove this comma. It is not required over here while defining the actual values. So that it throws error. Let's see whether the double quotes also required or not. Let's see. Once again execute this. Yeah, now it is executed. So when we copied these values from over this main function, and we have separate out in the function as it is, and we are copied these values in the config file as it is, including the comma. We forgot to remove the comma, so that it was throwing an error. Let's see what is after execution the result. So we have executed this function. It navigate to this MySQL connection over here. Then from here we are printing the MySQL host is MySQL host. So this line is gets printed. Then successfully connected to MySQL. It connect to the MySQL by using this connection method and return the connection over here, DB connection, and rest of the things all remains as it is. So we have successfully connected to the MySQL database by using the create MySQL connection function, and this function is using values which are stored, all the values, host, username, password, database value, which are stored in a config.py file. Why we require config.py file variables? Because in future, if suppose we want to change the host or username or password or demo database name, so we can change it at one location, and these values may get used at multiple locations in multiple Python program files. For example, here we are using, so there may be some another program files in future we are created and we are using the same thing. So it will be easy to maintain from one place, change the value at one place, and no need to change the code at different places. Reusability point of view, maintainability point of view, this will be easy. So we have covered, separate out the things, the actions and connection. Then we have stored the hard-coded values into the config.py file, whatever the variable we required, actual values in a, and we are fetching that file values from the config.py file. Now remaining point is how we can apply try catch method. Generally we use the terminology try catch, but in Python we use it as a try except. Okay, so till now we have seen the straightforward positive workflow. Let's change the value of the database name, underscore invalid, add underscore invalid. This database is not available, and now execute this function and let's see what error it throws. So see, it throws the error unknown database demo project invalid, but we have not handled this error, right? So our program fails, but we have not handled this exception. So we can handle the exception, at least all those exceptions which we are aware that maybe came while executing the program. Maybe there may be possibility that this kind of exception it may occur while executing our program. So we can catch that exception and handle that exception, and we can provide our error message as per our requirement in easy language. So let's try using the try catch method. Let's start from over here. Try use, I have used all this code block of code into the try. Indentation should be correct, and then accept, and then accept exception as error, spelling mistake, and then we can print the exception we found. Exception details are error. We can show error as it is, or we can give our error, definition of our error, DETAIR, and now execute the same program and let's see. See now, earlier the same program we have executed which having the incorrect database name, the database name is not available in the MySQL database, and that time our program gets failed and the program throws an error. Now we have handled this in a try and accept block, and we have re-executed this, and let's see, exception details are 1049 unknown database name is the error. So it is easy to readable, it is easy to understand, and we can give the error details or error user friendly error. If sometimes this error is more technical perspective, so we can give user friendly message to the end user. So we have used the try and catch block over here. Now see what we can add another exception. Yeah. Here let's see. So we have executed the query cursor, we store the values in result all, and then we are printing the values in result all. Suppose we have given the correct database name. We have given the correct database name. Okay. But in the SQL query, we have provided such condition, or we are using such SQL query which will not return the value. For example, where username is null. Now we know there is no username which having null, all the username having values. So we are fetching this, or maybe username is equal to something else username 1 and 2 apart from that. So we are trying to reproduce if this SQL query does not return anything, what happen? See, let's execute and see. Now we have provided the correct database name. So what is the error? MySQL host is localhost, then result is blank. See, result is blank. So it is not failing the program. So when the result over here, when it comes over here, result all, and when the for loop is getting executed, this time this result is blank. No, here result is here, but it is not throwing an error. Result is blank, but it is not printing anything, username and password. Why? Because result is blank and there is nothing to print. So there is no records available, so for loop does not get executed. So we are not aware whether the data available in the database or not. And suppose we want to handle this condition in our own way, then we can add the condition over here. If condition and if result all. Suppose there is something available in result, then and only then execute the for loop. Got it? Else, what else? Else we need to raise an exception. Raise exception, and we are going to define our exception, because by default it is not throwing an error because there is no records available in the database for this condition. But as per the Python programming, it is a blank record and it's executing the same thing. But as per our requirement, if there is a blank record or the database doesn't return any record, then we need to raise an exception. So what kind of exception we can raise? Raise exception and say no data or data is not available in table. And this we are raising this exception, our own created exception, and we are capturing over here and we are printing over here. Let's re-execute it and see whether the program gets pass or fail. See, now localhost connection made successfully, result is blank, and exception details are data is not available in the table. This exception we have created, we have defined on the basis of our requirement. Earlier there were no exception, but we are raising the exception. So we have seen two types of exception. One, by default, while executing the code, if there are some system generated exception, compilation errors, or some invalid object not found, that kind of errors which are handled itself and raise, so that kind of exception are gets captured over here by default, and we are printing the error details over here. But sometimes it may be possible that program gets executed successfully, there is no error, and we are not aware that our requirement is getting fulfilled or not. For example, in this case our requirement was printing the username and password, but if there are no username and password, please let us know that there are no username and password available as per the select query you have mentioned. And if for that purpose we have raising the exception. If result all is blank, it comes in a else condition, and we are raising this exception, data is not available in the table, and same error we are printing over here. So that's all guys. Today we have seen, in today's session we have seen how we can separate out actual database connection logic with the uh, separate out the actual connection to MySQL logic from the different actions like select, insert, create option which we are performing in a programs. So we have created two different files. Then we are also seeing how we can store the values instead of using hard-coded values in every program, multiple places in the program, in multiple programs. We can use the config.py file, and it is very easy to use. It is very easy to maintain the variables or variable values. Then we have seen how we can apply the try except concept, how we can capture the default system generated exceptions, and how we can capture the user friendly exception or uh, our own exception. We can create our own exception as per our requirement logic. So that's all guys. Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe our channel, like this video, and provide your feedback in the comment section. The comment section is open for all you guys. Provide your feedback whether you like, not like, what kind of improvement you expected from our side, or what kind of videos you are expecting from our side. So we will try to accommodate your feedback in upcoming sessions. Thank you all.